So Captain Marvel has come out and you went to see it, and regardless of whether you loved it or hated it, you could tell that there's plot holes. Now, despite what some people might think, a few plot holes here and there isn't going to ruin the MCU. Trust me, people, it's not the end of the world. Anytime a prequel of anything comes out, there are going to be plot holes that don't match up with the original work. Ask any Star Wars fan. We've been arguing about it for years about why George Lucas did certain things in the prequel trilogies that don't make any sense. Regardless of this, however, it's always fun to point that stuff out that doesn't match up. It's one of our rights as fans. So on that note, we're going to go over a few of the biggest plot holes from the recent movie and see why they don't make any sense in the larger MCU landscape. Also, some of the plot holes that are floating around the internet can easily be explained by simple retconning or adding to things that we didn't know in the timeline. So we're ignoring anything that is easy retconning or a simple addition to the timeline. So here we go, we're doing the big ones, and if you hadn't figured it out, spoilers for Captain Marvel, guys. Number 1 is Nick Fury's eye. Now, some of this can be contributed to Nick Fury lying, because the guy does that kind of a lot. But still, it was way back in the fantastic, my number 1 MCU movie, Captain America: Winter Soldier, where Nick Fury tells Steve Rogers that the last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye. Images of a shadowy war amongst spies leading to Fury's betrayal by a trusted agent or friend fills our minds, which explains why he is the master of shadows now, with his backup plans having backup plans. Turns out none of that is true. He was trying to pet a strange alien cat that had tentacles in its mouth and a pocket dimension in its stomach. To be honest, I'd probably embellish the story a little too. Like I'm gonna tell the guy who fought Nazis to a standstill that I lost my eye to a cute little kitty, even if it was actually an alien. Which actually leads to my biggest point. The biggest issue, however, is the timeline. In Winter Soldier, we see a picture of Fury on the day that he was sworn in as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. He has both eyes. Yet in Captain Marvel, he is shown as a lowly S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, most likely nowhere near the director level at that time. My nerd fury is rising because that means that he did not lose his eye until a much later date. Or he's using a glass eye. That's also a possibility, but hey, this is a fun video and I'm gonna poke holes where I want. Number 2 is Tesseract Weapons. In the Avengers movie, Captain America isn't happy to learn that S.H.I.E.L.D. is creating Tesseract weapons, not unlike the Red Skull did in World War II. Fury explains that they are developing them after learning about Thor and the Asgardians. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s discovery that humans are not alone in the universe is causing them to begin preparing. However, way back in 1995, S.H.I.E.L.D. discovered that both the warlike Kree and the shape-shifting Skrulls existed. They also had the Tesseract back in their possession by the end of the Captain Marvel film. Now, some people have explained this one as Fury having lied to calm everyone down in the Avengers, much like he did later in the film with Captain America cards being on Phil's body. But if Fury is actually lying about when and why they began creating Tesseract weapons, then S.H.I.E.L.D. should have had a small arsenal of energy weapons by the time the Avengers film happened, unless it took them 17 years to figure out how to use the stupid thing, which is possible. However, unlikely. Number 3, remember that time that the Earth was attacked by aliens? Well, it's 1995. Aliens just showed up in orbit and fired rockets at the planet. Luckily, we have a super-powered flying woman who manages to blow them all up before they reach us. How does nobody remember this? Were people just not looking up? It wasn't quiet. It wasn't secret. Jump to 2008 and everyone is super surprised by a guy in an armored suit who could shoot rockets. But Carol Danvers was running around in a funny spacesuit shooting lasers out of her hand all the way back in the 90s. Combine this with the idea that people were aware of Captain America, the Super Soldier's existence in the 1940s, and the flying woman taking out an alien fleet. I feel like Iron Man's arrival should have been more like, hey, haven't seen one of these in a few years. Number 4, use the beeper, Fury. Okay, so Captain Marvel gives Nick Fury an upgraded beeper that can shoot a signal across a couple of galaxies. Fury has put together his team of Avengers who are now dealing with an alien invasion from a portal over the streets of New York. Why didn't he press the button? Even if you had faith in your team, you can see that there are a lot of aliens. Push the button, Fury! Now, the heads of the MCU have stated that maybe it wasn't a big enough threat, or maybe he did push the button, but Captain Marvel didn't or couldn't respond. But let's all be honest here. No one had the idea for the intergalactic pager thingy before the Infinity War movie. Don't you try to lie to us. I also want to state a fun thing that one of our Twitch viewers brought to my attention. Just think about this for a moment. Maybe Nick Fury did press that button at every one of the big world-ending events. Wouldn't it be funny just to think why Captain Marvel couldn't arrive? Like, maybe this day she was saving a planet and on this day she overslept? Who knows? Now, number 5 is Stan Lee. One of my favorite parts of any Marvel movie is the inevitable appearance by Stan Lee. I was truly saddened by his passing last year, and he'll be missed. Thankfully, we got both a tribute at the beginning and one of his last cameos before Endgame. When Captain Marvel was looking for a Skrull infiltrator, she comes upon a kindly old man reading lines from a script for the movie Mallrats. For those of you that don't know, Mallrats was a Kevin Smith movie from 1995 where Stan Lee cameoed himself, bringing everything full circle. If you really want to see a touching moment, go watch Kevin Smith's reaction to this whole thing coming full circle for him. Anyway, some people have pointed out that Stan Lee wouldn't have actually been in the Mallrats movie in the MCU, because he would only be famous from writing about characters that were actually appearing in the movies, so they don't exist as comics. Also, it was shown that Stan Lee is actually an unnamed agent for the Watchers, which is how he manages to appear in every single movie. Now, if Stan Lee's cameos were incredibly important to the overall plot of the MCU, I could get behind these gripes that this is a plot hole and it wouldn't have existed. But since they aren't, I do not count this as a plot hole and instead see it as one more way to see the man who was responsible for co-creating some of the most important things that we, his fans, enjoy. R.I.P. Stan Lee. Anyway, guys, I hope this helped you figure out some of the more fun and larger plot holes in the entire continuity. Overall, I enjoyed Captain Marvel. It's not in my top 5 MCU movies, but it's definitely not a bad movie by any stretch of the means. Let me know what you guys think of the Captain Marvel movie in the comments down below, positive or negative, and don't forget to give this video a like if you want us to cover more movie-related topics. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time right here.